All right, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Alertus Power Lunch Software Panic Button Configuration with Alertus Desktop 7. My name is Brooke, and I'm a Senior Training Specialist here at Alertus, and I'll be leading today's webinar. This session will empower you to leverage the most updated Alertus desktop software to maximize the effectiveness of your mass notification solution and ensure that your employees and staff can quickly trigger emergency notifications for nearly any situation. So during this session, we'll demonstrate the essential steps to configure software panic buttons, along with additional features available with Alertus Desktop 7. So as always, this is an interactive session, so please feel free to put any questions in the QA feature. And also please be aware that this session is being recorded for training purposes. So without further ado, let me share my screen. I'm also going to enable the chat really quick. I forgot to do that earlier. There we go. All right, so as you can see, just my standard screen here. I'm not going to log into the Alertus console yet, but I am going to hop into the customer portal. So with the customer portal, the Alertus Desktop 7 software is available to everyone. Right now, it is available for Windows clients and for Chrome clients. And hopefully by the end of the year, it will be available for Mac clients as well. So when you come into the Alertus customer portal here, you will see in software downloads that you can click on this tile and then you'll see Alertus desktop. And when you come here, you'll go to your related tabs and you will have these files. So with the version 7, this is this MSI file for v7.2.1.32, the most recent one that was last updated 3 days ago on October 14th. So this is going to be your installer package that you can download and then package out to send out to all of the rest of your clients as well. And then in addition, you're going to need a new config file. So the beauty of Alertus Desktop 7 is that it is much more centrally configured. So you are going to be able to configure that from the console, and you're not going to need to do so much in the actual configuration file on the hard drive of the computer itself. So you are going to need this new config file as well to once again package and send out to your clients. And we're going to get into that config file a little bit so I can show you all those pieces. But it is, like I said, already available. If you have Alertus Desktop, it is not an additional cost. It's part of your license. You can download it and it is available here. And it really does allow for the central configuration of panic buttons, settings, and any other like USB, multi-USB features as well. So now, and I want to show you where the Chrome one is. So this one is for Windows. For Chrome, you'll just go to Google Chrome extensions and the web store. And if you type in Alertus, you'll see two pop up. One is the Alertus desktop. That's the one that you're probably using right now if you have Chrome licenses. And then you're going to want to use this Alertus Desktop 7 for Chrome. So once you pop in here and add this extension to Chrome, you will have all of the features that we're going to cover as well, such as the ability to send those panic buttons and use different forms to send them out. So now we are also still not going to log into the console because with the desktop, you can send panic buttons without being logged in to the console. So on my system tray, I have the Alertus desktop icon down here. You might have yours with this caret. It might be up here in your caret, but you can also drag it down to be on the bottom if you want. But with Alertus Desktop 7, you are able to set up a bunch of different options for desktop alerting. So the first one is going to be like a standard software panic button. So I'm going to send out this fire alert. When I click this, we will see that it was successful, and there it comes immediately to my computer.
Please evacuate immediately.
I also did just receive it to Alert Aware on my phone as well. And I'll acknowledge that on my computer. So it is dismissed specifically for my computer. But when I log in to the console in a second, we will see that it is still an active alert. So it can be as quick as that. There are other options that you can do, such as with this one, I added that you need to put in a confirmation prompt. So once I type in yes, then I can click proceed, and then it will send out the alert that way. In addition, we also have our panic form. So if I click on this, then there are some fields that I have to fill out before it gets sent. So here I can say, all right, I'm in Alertus HQ. My room is 317, and my incident type, I can fill out that I'm having a medical assistance. I need that in my room. And when I submit this, once again, it will say that it has been successful. And then when you see it pop up on the desktop, it's going to pull in that behavior. So Alertus HQ, room 317, medical assistance. So it's pulling in the information from that panic form. The other things you can utilize is the preset form. So the preset form will allow you to pull up a list of every single preset that you have access to in the system, and you can send them this way. So if I wanted to send an all clear, I could come here, select all clear. I would see the message text. It does have some prompts. So the fire in Alertus HQ is over. And so I could send this and submit this way. And I could do that for any of the the preset alerts that I have access to. And then the last option that you have is the contact form. So with the contact form, this is the only one that's not going to immediately send an alert when I fill it out. This is just going to assist you when a panic button is pressed. So it will alert people to fill out this form. When I have it submitted, it will say that it has saved the contact information, but we're not going to see an active alert. It's just going to be able to pull that information if and when they do press any of these other panic buttons. So lots of things that you can utilize here. And now we're going to go into the console to actually go and set those up. So I'm going to log in. We'll see that I have those two active alerts that I sent out. I'm going to come here and I'll cancel those early. And now we're going to get into where those panic buttons are set up. So that will be under configure system settings. You're going to go down to desktop panic buttons, and you'll see that you have panic button profiles that you can get into. Then you'll have those three types of forms: the panic form, the contact form, and the preset form. And then you also can set up your USB panic buttons here as well. So this fire one is the one that I sent, I believe. Yes, I believe it was this one. And so you can see here that it is pulling in a name. That's the name of it. It is turned on. If I wanted to add a keyboard shortcut, then I could. So maybe if I wanted to do Alt Control F, then this would also send out that panic button without even needing to right click on my form. The require confirmation is where you did that save confirm text that I'll show you in a second. And then you can choose if you want to send it using custom event triggers, which we're going to get into later in this call, or you can just select the preset that you want it to send out. So if you already know which preset, then you can do that there. And then there's a second tab for appearance. So how do you want this to look? Do you want this to be called a certain thing, have certain colors, have certain image? What exactly do you want it to look like in that menu? And then with the evacuate one that I sent, that one did have the confirmation text. It did have a keyboard shortcut if I wanted to. It's just pulling in that preset alert. And then it has that appearance here as well. So you can customize these for any of the preset alerts that you have in your system that you want to send out using this here. I believe the limit is 25 alerts in your form here. So you have tons of options that you can build in this. And you also can, of course, just create that preset form that would have access to all the presets as well. So these are the panic button profiles, but then we also have the desktop forms. So with the preset form, that's as simple as just pulling in, okay, what do I want it to look like? It's going to say general, a request emergency assistance, pull in the preset alerts. You could also create a keyboard shortcut to pull that up. And what does it look like in the system tray? It's going to look like this. But like I said, as soon as you pull it in, it's just going to have a list of all of your preset forms. So there's not that much here to customize, but you can definitely set up how you want this to appear when that is pressed. The contact form and the panic form will allow for a lot more customization with the different fields that you have. So with the panic form, this one is going to immediately send out an alert. So when we come here, we can see that, oh, this one is Sarah's. Let me go back and I will show mine. Here we go. So this one is called My Panic Form. Once again, can add a keyboard shortcut if I want. It has a title, it has instructions. There's a button to submit, and when it submits, it's going to send this preset alert. And it also will do any of the unassigned custom event triggers if I want to, or anything like this. And that's what it's going to look like here. But as I mentioned, these three fields are customizable. So there's another tab here for fields where you can add as many as you'd like. And you can say, all right, I want people to include their floor or some description of what's going on. Or you could even do some custom fields if you wanted to as well. And when I pull that in here, I can give it a label. I can decide what I want it to say, maybe give it a long field to text, a short field to text, make it be like a multiple choice they have to choose, or they can select multiple options or give a date. And then I can also say, is this a required field or not? So as many fields as I want to build out here, I can. And then I also can see here that I can give those different options if I do want them to select one versus selecting multiple. So very customizable here for whatever fields you want them to be able to fill in. And then the appearance, of course, well, what it's going to look like in the menu when I right click right here. So whatever information you want to pull into a panic form, you can have these different fields, and then that preset alert can also pull in that information. So as you saw with that other alert, I'll pull it up now. It targets the Alertus Desktop 7 panic form preset alert that I have. And then because I'm pulling in those variables here, you can see that it pulled in my name, it pulled in the building, it pulled in the room, it pulled in the incident type, the device, the date and time. So it's pulling all of these variables in live based off of what people are putting into that form. The last desktop form that we're going to take a look at is the contact form. So contact forms do not automatically send alerts. They are going to save the contact information. So when end users press their USB panic button or they use a system tray icon to send a different panic button, all of that contact information is saved. So they don't need to do and input that information live when there is a real emergency alert going on. They would get prompted to input it each time that they log into their computer, and then it would be there for them available. So once again, you would fill in this contact information. It's not going to send out any for presets or custom event triggers, so we won't see that here, but we can fill out these different fields. So whatever fields you want to have, you could have those filled out here. And then you can also have the appearance as well. And once we get into the policy, which we're going to hop to in a second, you can set some settings around this contact information. So those are the software panic buttons that and profiles and forms that you can use. We also have the USB panic buttons as well. So if you come down here, you can see that with the single USB panic button, I can set it to activate a single preset, or once again, can do the custom event triggers or pick whatever preset I want. And then with the USB panic button, multi-USB, this one you have 8 options. And so you're going to be able to pull in 8 different preset alerts. So whatever computers are utilizing these types of USB panic buttons, you would just make sure that's part of the policy. So this is where you go to build out all of the behavior that you want, but then you have to assign it to specific desktops. So in the desktop area, there's going to be the top section is for Alertus desktop profiles. And once again, these are configurations for Alertus Desktop 7. So as you can see, there are different policies that you are going to pull in to the configuration file. So that's where the config file comes in handy. And so I'm going to pull that up now to show you specifically for Alertus Desktop 7. Oops, I don't need that one. This is going to be the new config file. You can see up here when it was last updated. This is what you're going to utilize. And then all of these settings can basically stay the same. There's nothing that you need to edit here, except for when we get down here to configuration. So you're going to want to create whatever policy you have in here and then assign that to this computer. So I'm on default Brooke. And instead of having Sarah's configurations, I'm going to have my own. And this is so you can have different behavior for different computers. So maybe you want the security team to have different presets available than your standard employees, you can have that as different policies. Or maybe you don't want, you want some of your employees to not have any access to panic buttons. You can create a policy that has no access, while other people do. So this is even further customization around who is able to send out those alerts. So with my config file, I have the policy name. I also make sure that it is targeting my host name right here. And then those are really the only two settings that we need to check on and make sure that are smoothly connecting to your server and your behavior here. And then because I have the default Brook policy pulled in, I am going to be able to make changes to my policy here. So if I come in to edit this policy, I can see its name, I can see some standard general settings here, specifically for the device name for Windows or for Chrome. And then I also can set up my panic buttons. So I created those different profiles that I've pulled in, but maybe I don't actually want this shelter in place one here anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. I only want to have those. But I do want my panic form. I want my preset form. I want to have a USB panic button, so that's all pulled in. And then I do have to create an API username and password, which you can set up in your users and access rights section as well. And then we get into the contact form. So with the contact form, you will pull in the contact form. You can show it always if people need to be reminded of submitting it. You can show it only if it's incomplete. And it can also remind people every X amount of hours to complete that contact form if needed. And then you can save that information on a specific location or on the system itself. So lots of customization here you can do along with advanced settings. Maybe you want to have this error on. If the USB button is unplugged, we'll get an error that it's unplugged. And there are different settings for the system tray as well. How do you want this to look? Maybe I want fire to be at the top, or request assistance to be at the bottom. I can move these all around and I can have it look exactly the way that I want to. There we go. Fires at the top. And I also can maybe get rid of, maybe I don't need it to show logs or view a test alert. I can get rid of all of these settings. So this is exactly what it's going to look like. And then I'll have my about screen, some information there, some lock and log on screen settings, as well as some advanced settings. One that we like to call out that is a new setting within the last year that's really helpful is the show on all monitor settings. So right now I have two desktops. And so previously, with older desktop clients, it only would pop up on my laptop. And if I'm plugged into an external monitor, it wouldn't show up on that system. But now with this toggled on, it will show up on both. So that's really handy for especially like schools that have computers plugged into a bigger screen and the teacher is not looking at the computer frequently, or just people that have multiple monitors as well. So a lot of settings here. And as soon as I save this, because I made edits to the panic button profiles and the system tray, we will see that my Alertus desktop icon down here, this yellow one, is going to go away and it's going to reboot itself. So it will then save those new settings. So instead of looking like how it did before when I had those four different alerts that I could pull in and how the system tray looked, it's going to show up different. So now we see that it's gone and any second it's going to pop back up. I got that error because my USB panic button is not plugged in at this time. And now I'll only have those three options. So like I said, very customizable here, a lot more easily to centrally configure the system instead of having to go into the config file itself and make those changes. Now you just need to go to the policy itself. So definitely covered a lot. As a reminder, the QA box in chat is open, but we're going to go through a few more things around desktop settings and custom event triggers, because some of your desktop profiles for the panic buttons can be used with the custom event triggers. So some settings that are really helpful to explore in the desktop are the general settings, the polling interval, and then the device cleanup. So this setting is actually available for any clients. You don't need to be on desktop 7 in order for this to work. But this is a great space for you to go and make sure that your system is staying up to date with which computers are actually being used. So if you re-image computers or decommission computers or anything like that, where the computer was in the system, but now it's no longer functional, You can set this up to clean up any computer that hasn't checked in for X amount of days. So right now I have it set up for every 30 days at 3 a.m. If a computer hasn't checked in, it will be removed. Well, no, it's going to check in every day, and if the computer hasn't checked in for 30 days, it will be removed. But I can change this. Maybe I want it to be a 60-day interval or even a 365-day interval. I can make it so whatever settings I want to remove those computers at 3 a.m., those will check in with that and remove any computers that fit that criteria. In addition, there's the auto update feature, once again, just for Alertus Desktop 7 for Windows, but you can create certain updates to your system if you pull in the file here that will then launch that out. So they'll be on the newest and up-to-date version. So a lot of great settings there as well. Definitely recommend exploring that space. And next, we're going to hop to custom event triggers. So with custom event triggers, this is where you can see events coming into the system such as the panic button presses from the software or hardware or USB, whatever panic buttons you have. And you can set the triggers to do something automatic. So the one that I utilized was this fire one. So my desktop panic button for a fire in building 1. I can, instead of it having set up for an exact preset alert, I could have it set up to do a custom event trigger. And what that looks like is we can see here that the name is there. Enable means it's turned on. Stop processing means that it is going to find this as the custom event trigger that it's going to use and then not look for any other rules to meet. And then the cooldown minutes is a new feature as well in this most upgraded server, where if you don't want multiple presses coming in for the same incident, you can do, maybe I'll do a 10-minute cooldown feature. And so then this will not activate again for those 10 minutes. And then we get into the criteria. So we can see the menu item equals fire. So if I see here, this menu item is called fire. So that is going to be pulled in. And then if I'm part of a group building 1, then it will send out this building 1 fire alert. So that can be really helpful if you have multiple buildings that you want to have different presets for, where you can target specific response teams to, or specific employees to evacuate if needed. You also can add other criteria here. Maybe you wanted to use IP addresses. So you can say if it starts with 192, then it's going to be underneath this criteria and it will do a specific action. So whatever criteria you want to have set up for your custom event triggers for those panic buttons, you can set up here. And then the event dashboard is where that behavior comes into play. So as you can see, if I scroll down, these are the two that I sent out earlier. This one was my fire. This one was my request assistance. And you can see with that behavior that for the fire one, I executed that custom event trigger and I activated that preset alert and I sent that alert out. And all of the criteria that comes into the system is going to show in this XML payload. Sometimes this takes a minute to load, so I'll come back to this page. But if I wanted to see for my request assistance page here, we can see once again, it came from my computer, the person who sent it, and then what it did with that information. And it's pulling in all of these event details. So these are all of the criteria that I could use in order to target my specific device or to understand which preset I want to launch. In addition with the event dashboard, something that's really handy there underneath custom event triggers, you can turn on test mode. So if I enable test mode, that is going to disable all of my custom event triggers from working. So if I come now down here and I press the fire, we are going to see that it failed and it did not go through because I have test mode on. But because I have test mode on, I can come back to my event dashboard and I can check and test my system. So I can come here and you can see that I pressed fire from my computer at this date and time, and it gives you the processing details. So it said it matched this custom event trigger and it would have activated this, but it didn't. So because test mode is enabled. So that's a really good way just to make sure that all of your configurations are set up properly. You just want to make sure that when you're done, you come back to this area and you disable your test mode. So now when I do that, I will see that is now successful, and we'll have that alert come into the system again. There we go on my phone.
An order is now in effect at Alertus HQ. Please evacuate immediately. Please follow evacuation instructions from local authorities.
Great, so I'll acknowledge that, and then I can have it last for 10 minutes, or I'm just going to cancel that early. But yes, those are all of the things that a very quick demonstration of all the things you can do with the desktop. It is so customizable though, so setting up the behavior with whatever you want it to see for whatever users you want to have it is definitely possible. So if you do want to explore this space, we do recommend setting up a one-on-one training with us. And I'll also include some KB articles as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to pull up the chat. So this first knowledge base article I'm putting in is all about configuring Alertus Desktop 7. And then this second is a user guide for the different panic buttons, panic forms, and USB panic buttons that you can set up that I showed you there. So you can navigate that space and set up exactly the behavior you want. In addition, highly recommend setting up a one-on-one training, and you can do that by emailing us at trainingteam.alertus.com or in the customer portal. I'm going to pull it up now. You can request a training as well on this link. So, training request. Great. We do still have a few more minutes, so I will be on the call. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box or in the chat. In addition, our upcoming Power Lunch or our next Power Lunch is going to be on AlertAware, specific AlertAware activator training, so activating from AlertAware itself. And so if you are interested in registering for that link is in the chat as well. And yeah, and I hope that you learned something new today, and keep us posted if you want to continue to explore this space. We're here to help. So thank you again for your time. I'll be on for another minute or so if there are any other questions. But have a good Friday and hopefully see you at a future Power Lunch.